She had not spoken much since last night. She sat by the fire, wrapped in a blanket, eyes staring at the flames. The village women brought her food, but she only took small bites. Shabba watched her closely. He had expected her to laugh, talk, or even complain about the jungle. But instead, she was quiet. Finally, Shabba sat next to her. "Tell me, what happened in the bush?" She looked up at him, then around at the villagers. Then, in a soft whisper, she said, "Something was out there, watching me. A night in the jungle, what she saw." She took a deep breath and began to tell her story. After she had walked away from the village, she had tried to find her way back, but got lost. The trees looked the same. The darkness swallowed everything. Then, she heard it. A deep growl. At first, she thought it was the wind. But then the sound came closer. She wasn't alone. She had started running, pushing through the bushes, her dress ripping on thorns. And then, she had seen glowing eyes in the dark. Watching. Following. Not a lion. Not a hyena. Something else. "It didn't attack me," she whispered. "It just followed me." The elders speak, a dangerous presence. The village elders listened carefully. One of the oldest men, Mzee Bakery, cleared his throat. "This is not the first time someone has seen this." The villagers leaned in. "There is something in the jungle," he said. "Something that watches, but does not attack." The younger hunters exchanged glances. Shabba frowned. "What is it?" Mzee Bakery shook his head. "Some say it is a lost spirit. Some say it is an animal that no one has ever caught. Whatever it is, it does not belong in this world." A chill ran down Shabba's spine. His wife hugged herself, shivering. "I don't want to go back out there." Shabba took her hands. "You don't have to. I will protect you." But deep inside, he knew. He had to go back into the jungle. He had to find out what was watching her. Because whatever it was, it might come back. Shabba must return to the jungle. The hunt for the unseen begins. The sun rose over the Hadzabe village, casting a golden glow on the huts and the waking people. The air was filled with the smell of burning firewood as the women prepared the morning meal. But something was different. There was no laughter. No one was telling stories or singing. The European woman, Shabba's wife, was still shaken from the night before. She sat close to the fire, her arms wrapped around herself. She had barely slept. Shabba, on the other hand, was restless. He stood at the edge of the village, staring into the trees. His spear was in his hand, his mind deep in thought. Something had followed his wife in the jungle. Something unnatural. And he had to find out what it was. The Council of the Elders. The elders of the village gathered under the big baobab tree. The whole village surrounded them, listening carefully. Mzee Bakery, the oldest and wisest man in the village, spoke first. "Shabba, my son, do you truly want to go back into the jungle?" Shabba nodded, without hesitation. "Yes. If something is out there, I must face it." Mzee Bakery sighed. He looked around at the other elders, before speaking again. "There are things in this land that even we, the Hadzabe, do not fully understand. Some say they are spirits, some say they are beasts not yet discovered by man." The villagers murmured amongst themselves. Juma, Shabba's best friend, stepped forward. "Then we must hunt it," he said. "Whatever it is, we are warriors. We cannot let fear control us." The young hunters shouted in agreement. Shabba's wife, still sitting by the fire, suddenly spoke. "What if it comes back tonight?" she asked, her voice shaky. The village fell silent. Mzee Bakery nodded slowly. "Then we must act before night falls." The warriors prepare for the hunt. Shabba and Juma gathered the strongest hunters in the village. Each man armed himself with a bow, poison-tipped arrows, and a spear. The women watched anxiously as their men painted their faces with ash and dirt, preparing for battle. Shabba's wife stood and walked to him. "Are you sure about this?" she whispered. He took her hands and smiled. "I am Hadzabe. This is my land. I must protect it." She nodded, still afraid, but she knew she couldn't stop him. With that, the warriors disappeared into the jungle. The deep jungle, strange signs. The jungle was quiet. Too quiet. Shabba walked ahead, eyes scanning the ground for tracks. Then, suddenly, Juma stopped. "Look." Everyone gathered around a tree. Deep claw marks ran down the bark. The cuts were fresh. The hunters exchanged worried glances. "This is not a lion," one of the men whispered. Shabba knelt and touched the marks. Something big had passed here. Then, he noticed something else. Footprints. But not human. Not animal. Something in between. A cold chill ran through Shabba's body. "We are not alone," he murmured. The Hadzabe tribe, one of the last remaining hunter-gatherer societies in Africa, resides in the Lake Eyasi region of northern Tanzania. Their way of life has remained largely unchanged for thousands of years, relying on hunting, gathering, and a deep connection with nature to sustain themselves. Unlike agricultural or pastoralist societies, the Hadzabe do not farm or keep livestock, instead sourcing their food directly from the land. Their diet consists of wild game, honey, tubers, and seasonal fruits, making their meals simple yet highly nutritious. A day of hunting and gathering. Morning preparations. The Hadzabe typically start their day at sunrise. Men and boys prepare for the hunt, grabbing their traditional bows and arrows, often tipped with poison extracted from the adenium plant. Women and children set out to gather tubers, fruits, and honey. Hunting can last for hours, depending on luck and skill. If successful, the hunters return with game such as dik-dik, a small antelope, guinea fowl, or even larger animals like baboons or warthogs. Cooking the meal. Unlike many cultures that use pots and pans, the Hadzabe prepare their food over an open fire with minimal tools. If meat is brought